Hi friends, how you doing? Is there like news happening today? What a crazy manic Monday. I love it. I love it. I'll take any manic Monday like this. I'm finally able to get to the Libra new moon chart. You're gonna love it, love it, love it, love it. I do want to go back and talk about just a few things. When I did the last, I think it was the Virgo Sagittarius. Nope, maybe I think it was it was while I was in Arizona, so it was the full moon in Pisces. And at the time, and I know this because I found my notes, at the time, in that video with my fancy little scrollers, hand-drawn, maybe it was the third quarter. No, it was the third quarter. I'm sorry. Third quarter Virgo Sagittarius, and I want to repost it because there's so many golden Easter eggs in there to unwrap. But one thing I talked about, if you recall, I talked about the Jupiter-Neptune square. I talked about how for the past year, when this happened, it started January 13th. We have been in this cloud. We had been in this haze. It was like a dreamy, weird, nebulous kind of universe we've been floating around in. We could never find the edges of it. It's just one thing after another, adding to the confusion. And I said that the lyrics that came to mind was, is this real life, or is this just a fantasy from Bohemian Rhapsody? So that was kind of the quality I was looking for. Well, Jupiter, that expands things, it rules law enforcement, it rules higher learning. It's the thing that in Sagittarius, which also has to do with religion and philosophy, when Jupiter expands too much in that area, that's where you get the like far right, the extremists, the I can't think of the word for them right now, but when it goes to martyrdom and getting really extreme in your religion, the fanatics, that's what I'm looking for, the religious fanaticals, that augments it, it expands it. And then Neptune is a very spiritual planet. It is the compassionate servant. It is such a healing sign. It's the sign of Jesus. But when it goes negative, that's where we find martyrdom. That's where we find secrets. That's where we find disillusionment and manipulation. So to have these two massive planets, gas giants, squaring off with each other, that is the hazy cloudiness that we had been caught up in for so long. Well, because they're large planets, they move very slowly. So when they touch each other, it's not just like fast-moving planets where it's just a day you feel it. Like when we feel our quarter moons, we feel it for a day and it's like a crisis point. No, these squares can last for weeks and months at a time, depending how fast the planets seem to be moving. So when they had their exact squares, they were on January 13th during our shutdown. We had no idea when it was going to end. It happened June 16th. That was right after the full moon eclipse. No. That was right after his birthday in June. I'm trying to think of anything that was happening. I cannot even remember. And then the last one was September 21st. And when I was talking about September 21st, this was the last square that we would have, and then we would push off, and things would get clearer and clearer. Things would start to make sense. We would feel more grounded in reality. And here I said, Jupiter and Neptune squares, it's when you hit rock bottom regarding addiction. Think about that. And also think about the tarot. Addiction is the devil card. So September 21st was their last square. That was a Saturday. Then Sunday, we had the first day of fall. No, Monday was the first day of fall, and that was just a week ago. And remember how great we were feeling and how happy. And then I did the reading on what to expect this whole month, that we finally have justice and it's going to happen all month long. Well, then on Tuesday, Pelosi announced the inquiry for impeachment. So look at how fast that worked. We came out of the fog and haze, and right away we had leverage and we took action. Like, I wonder if Speaker Pelosi has an astrologer, because her timing has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. But that whole Jupiter-Neptune square, I mean, if you can even remember that, I mean, this is just a week ago, that had to do with having to do with fact, fantasy, or fiction. It has to do about having faith or being delusional. And it has to do with having boundaries versus barriers. And see, Donald, if you can tell, him and all of his peeps, they're still trying to operate from that platform, and it's not working because they keep trying to spin things, and the entire world has moved on into the season of justice, being grounded in reality, and because the United States of America, our forefathers, apparently, I think it was Ben Franklin, was an astrologer. I don't know, it was him, it could have been someone else. He picked an incredible chart for our nation. And just this past week, seeing how revolutionary genius he was in picking that chart, it has like solidified some more hypotheses I have about our natal chart, which I'll talk about some other day. But the man is a genius. And the thing is, boy, do we have control of this. And Donald can't shake it at all. At all. It's so lovely, so gorgeous. I just, Anyway, so we are going to finally get to this new moon in Libra. The chart, the horoscope, you guys have been doing this for a while. We see that this is the eastern horizon, this is the west, this is where the sun rises, so this is the horizon. We know this is a day chart because the sun is above in the sky. We can't see things below the horizon, so this is night on the other side of the world, okay? And on the ascendant, here we have Capricorn, is in the first house. Saturn and Pluto, the planets of restriction and judgment. Oh my gosh. And we have the midheaven. You guys know this is where the sun travels to its highest point in the day as the earth shifts over DC and then it sets. You guys also know, I've taught you the ninth house is whose house? Putin's house, because once the sun hits its highest point, it pushes off to the west, and now this belongs to lands far away. So as we look at this chart, we have a lot of activity here. Sorry, I have marker all over me. I've been drawing on these papers. What do we have in Putin's house? The sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars. Now, I have been telling you guys that in a horoscope for a nation, the sun represents the President of the United States of America. So here's Donald, this new moon. There's Donald, his soul force at work in the ninth house, Putin's house. His emotions, his obligations, his reactions. Mercury, his communications, his papers, his contracts. Venus, his money, his gains. Oh, Mercury, children. Mars, his action, where he's energized. United States of America, in our 10th house, the public house, we have nothing. So he is not even thinking about the United States of America. However, we are. He is forced to stay here because now he's got Saturn and Pluto in the first house, restrictions. We, the people in the 7th house, have the North Node, the messenger of happiness, and we've got all the eclipse energy working for us. Furthermore, everything that's bearing down on Washington, D.C., we have Uranus. It's retrograde. It's pushing towards the lower heaven, and that is at home. and that brings unexpected news, surprises, shakeups. And I think today is a very beautiful day to exemplify that, because all planets, because now the sun is in Libra, its ruler is Venus, so planets that are ruled by Venus, like this line up here, all these planets are ruled by Venus right now because that's where the sun is. And we had a new moon in Libra. Uranus is ruled by Venus because Taurus is ruled by Venus. So these are active all night long. All night long, all day long, all day long, all month long. And that's where all the activity is. And Donald is being tethered. Like, he's on a leash. He's on a bunch of leash. He cannot get away. He is chained up like the devil next to the judgment card for the next month. But wait, it gets better, you guys. I haven't even talked about eclipse points, but I am going to show you so that you can get a feel for and understand what I mean about faraway lands. I'm going to show you the AstroMap. I know you see a lot of lines. Let's just get our bearings here. So this is the world centered on America. Here we are. Here's Washington, D.C. And over here we have Asia, split in half. Russia, China. And then it's also Russia, China. Here's Africa, Europe, South America. So looking at this chart, I said all of these planets have pushed off to the west to farther away. Well, look up here. This says the MC, the midheaven. I know those abbreviations don't match exactly, but it stands for it's Greek words. I'm not even going to try to say them, and I don't have time to look up how they're spelled. Just trust me. So here we have Mercury, Venus, the moon, the sun, and Mars have pushed off to the west. So here in the United States, those planets, for everyone to see over, here's Washington, D.C., to the Rockies, there's going to be a lot of activity here with Mercury, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars. Well, when you look at these lines that are bearing down, you know what else I see? I see Mercury bearing down, coming down over, like Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, coming down here, Central America, and it picks up some Colombia, Venezuela, it picks up some Bolivia, right? Venus, money. Oh, we have some in Canada, some in the Midwest. Venus, that goes right over Houston and into Mexico. Sun and moon bearing down. We're in the Midwest, Rockies. North, South Dakota maybe. Colorado, Kansas, Texas, Mexico. Mars, where the action is. We're coming back down here is at Idaho, maybe Montana, Wyoming, maybe New Mexico, into Mexico. A lot of activity centered over here, and I just screams red states to me. All that is bearing down. Here, remember I said Uranus is in the 4th house, everything bearing down for sudden expected news. Look at this. So this is where it is, the lower heaven. I know it says IC, it's Latin, I forget, So here is Uranus. So this thing is just perking up and making things explode. I would not be surprised if we have some major earthquakes here, especially as we get closer to Scorpio season, towards the last week of October. Pushing up through Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, unexpected stuff, shakeups. Oh, look, it goes over, shaken up with Cuba or Puerto Rico. I can't tell which one that is. Straight up through Washington, D.C. And so even though this is where it's pushing up, as the season progresses, that energy slowly progresses west. Got it? So if this is in our 9th house, what's going on with the other side of the world? Well, I'm glad you asked, because look at what. Oh, there they all are. We're going to flip Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars from the day chart, because it has to be affecting something during the night. Well, it is. Look at where it is rising up and pushing up. We have Donald, the midheaven of Washington, D.C., this orange line. We are going to find out about stuff in Indonesia, Rangoon, Hanoi. Hanoi has Uranus right over it. Remember that Donald and Kim Jong-un met there? We have it going up through China, Mongolia, and Russia. Oh, thank God it's still going. We have Mercury and Venus. Messages, money, going up through Eurasia, China, Mongolia, Russia. The sun and moon, all at the base of Russia, China. On top of it, they are also in eclipse click points. All fall, and all during this month of the new moon in Libra. Is that just a gorgeous thing? So you can't hide from it at all. And then we have Saturn and Pluto. Here they were in the ascendant for Washington, D.C. They're just streaming on over. And this whole East Coast going into Central America have to be accountable. They're all going to be held accountable. So that's what we have in store for us. And you know what? I'm going to upload this part 1, and then we will get to the Taroscope. But is this not so exciting? It's so delicious. I love it. Okay, thanks you guys.